You've been hearing a lot in these sessions about brain and language, and also some references to China. I'm going to kind of try to pull those all together into a good news story, which is about how you can use your very powerful adult brain to learn something that is pretty difficult and also quite amazing, a foreign language, and especially Chinese. I'm a linguist by passion and by training. And so when I moved with my husband to China for a 3-year stay, it was part of my, my family part of the bargain that I would learn some Chinese. I knew that this was going to be a pretty difficult undertaking as an adult, because we know that adult brains can be forgetful, get distracted, and have trouble with recall. And there's also a special problem with accent, but that it's really hard for adults to pick up a good foreign accent. A good native accent, you can never quite be there. But I thought, if Henry Kissinger doesn't have to worry about this, we don't have to worry about this either. There's also a lot of good news about brains. We used to think that once you were older than a kid, you couldn't learn a foreign language anymore, but neurologists and linguists have pretty much dismissed this and say that language isn't, your brain doesn't become static or solidified, rendering it useful to learn a foreign language. The mature brain can actually do lots of things, and many of them apply directly to our sense of language and how language works. We have the power to absorb much higher level processing that's available to us. And so if kids just seem to absorb languages like sponges, adults really can actively engage in the process of foreign language learning. For example, when you look at signs like this, Aaron, you can tell that this is a warning, but by looking at carefully, it takes it out of the case of being a warning and is actually inviting us to some kind of disaster or such. And since we know a lot about languages, the patterns of languages of nouns and verbs, you think, well, smoking's one, and why not photoing? And we know that with verbs, you've got do and undo, tie and untie. Why not cycle and unrecycle? Or enterness should be a noun, just like entry or entrance. Moving into the world of semantics, now, you kind of know what evil rubbish means, and you can look at this and laugh, but the reason that you know is that you know that evil has some characteristics that usually point to bad moral character, while rubbish, of course, doesn't have any bad moral character. Same thing with vegetables. You've got vegetables, but they're not going into the realm of private. Or stampede. Stampede's a good word, but you think of lots of legs running as fast as they can, not just one pair leaping up to squat on the toilet. So the mature brain can also make use of your lifetime of wealth and experience to help you process language in more than a literal way. We can put language in bigger context or recognize reference and metaphor, and we know propaganda when we see it. We can pick up the tenor or the tone of the messages. In China, in the run-up to the Olympics when we were there was a campaign called Let's Get Civilized, where they were trying to encourage the people to behave in a much more civilized manner to show their country in a good light. There was a lot of bathroom Chinglish going on during this campaign, although some of the vocabulary choice kind of worked against it. So with our mature brains, we can also grasp metaphor. Chinese is a really blunt language, but they can also beat around the bush to deliver a message very softly. A nice way to say, keep off the grass. And sometimes our sense of language just tells us that there's too much nonsense going on, so we should just look at the pictures and then move on from there. Okay, now the tough part. Now it's time for your first Chinese lesson. How can you apply some of these strengths of your very powerful brain toward learning Chinese? I have 2 lessons for you today. One is speed learning Chinese vocabulary, and the other is about some really confusing prepositions in Chinese. First, the vocabulary. One of the ways that language can add a lot of new vocabulary to its inventory when it needs to create, say, a word for a new concept or a new idea is to put two small words together, and often that they'll put 2 opposites together. And you create a new whole with this opposite, just like the sense of yin and yang. Another way to create new words is to latch onto one word, in this case dian, which means electric, and put together a whole group of words around it. The thing this does for you as a language learner is to take things out of the realm of arbitrary and make them a lot more sensible. So that, and if you're lucky, you can remember all these, and you can even make up some new words, and sometimes you're likely to be right. Now, your second language lesson. These are two really confounding words in Chinese, Shang and Xia, which are opposites. First one's pretty easy. Shang has a reference to time. It means in the past. Xia, in the future. Okay, no problem, straightforward. But now here comes trouble. Shang and Xia also refer to place, where you have Shang meaning on top of, and Xia meaning below. So for the new language learner, this is nothing short of confusing, because it's just not in my world of English and how the world works that you should have a pair of words that has both these references to time and to place. But the good news is that you can use your powerful adult brain to use create some kind of mnemonic device or visual aid to help you keep on learning things like this. So this was my grid. In the south, you've got time and you've got place. In the southeast corner is xia, which always means one, so whenever I say it, I can kind of go to that visual aid. In the northwest corner, you've always got shang, meaning above in space and behind in time. So whenever I wanted to learn these words, I could come to my very, very, very good visual aid and do it. So what have we learned here? We've learned that as adults, you've got a powerful, quite supple brain where you can engage your higher word order processing and your accumulated experience in the world and sense of the language to help learning a foreign language, even Chinese. So today, this is your first step. And as Edie said, time moves really fast, so by next week, you'll be fluent. Thank you.